Okay, so today, because we do have a short week, we're going to be doing 2 days of warm-ups. So let's start with the first one, which is Thursdays. Says Stephanie has 3 bags of soil to put in her garden. Each bag of soil will cover 125 and 310 square feet. How many square feet will Stephanie be able to cover if she uses all these bags of soil? So in this case, because it is giving you the amount of area it's going to cover per bag, then what you need to do is you would need to multiply 125 and 3/10 times 3. So let's go ahead and do that. So 125 and 3/10 times 3. So that's 9. 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 2 is 6 plus 1 is 7. 3 times 1 is 3. So in this case, it's going to be 375 and 9/10 in this case, because I believe we did make a mistake in our answer choices. It should be letter B. For the second one, we are working with, this, again, supplementary angles. So in this case, they're giving you the supplementary angle of A, B, and D, and D, B, and C. So because they do sum up to 180, then we could go ahead and find the value of x. So before I could do that, I could find the measurement for B, D, B, and C. And in that case, I would need to do 180 minus 20. So that's going to equal to 160. So that measurement's going to be 160. Now, because I already know that, then it's easier to find the value of x, because I could write x plus 24 is equal to 160. So then what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and subtract 24 from each side. So x will give you, this becomes 0 pairs. That's going to be 6 because we borrowed, 3, and 1. So x is equal to 136. Now, in order for me to make sure that that's correct, I'm going to go ahead and check our answers. So 20 plus 136 plus 24. That's what I need to do. So I know this is going to be 136 plus 44. Well, 6 times 4 is 0. Carry the 1. 4 plus 3. 6 plus 4. 4 plus 3 is 7 plus 1 is 8. And then the 1. So that is correct. We got both of them correct. Now let's go ahead and look at Fridays. Friday says Mr. Ortiz uses similar triangles to make a design. Which statement about the triangles in the design must be true? They are the same size and same shape. Well, with similar triangles, remember, similar means that they're the same shape, but not necessarily the same size. So A is wrong. B says they are the same size but different shapes. Again, because it says similar, similar means the same shape. Because they're different shape, then that means that's wrong. They have corresponding angles that are congruent. Well, yes, the corresponding angles are congruent because they have the same shape. And D, they have corresponding sides that are congruent. The corresponding sides are not congruent, they are proportional. So because D is also wrong, then my correct answer will be C. Now let's look at the next one. Now in this case, they're telling us to get the value of x, because now we have 2 x's, then I have to make them equal to 180. So I'm going to go ahead and do 2x plus 2x plus 80 equals to 180 degrees. Now, because we have like terms, I'm going to go ahead and combine those. Then I'm going to go ahead and subtract 180 to solve. Actually, 80 from each side to solve. So I'm left with 4x because 80 minus 80 are zero pairs, so they cancel each other out. Over, and then 180 minus 80 is 100. When we divide by 4, then that means x equals to 25. So if x equals 25, then I'm going to go ahead and substitute that. 2 times x, 2 times 25. And that's going to equal to 50. So that means angle JGF or FGJ is going to be 50 degrees, which is this one. Now for the next one, JGH, which is the first one and the middle question, we're going to go ahead and substitute 2x plus 80. Well, 2 times 25 plus 80, that's 50, plus 80, that's going to give us 130 degrees. So this one's going to be 130 degrees. If you actually add those two up, it should equal to 180. So that means we are correct. Now today what we're going to be doing, we're going to start triangle and angle relationship. Triangle-angle relationship, we've been looking through at them during our warm-ups. What we're reviewing today is what we've already done several times. We did the relationship of all the angles in a triangle, and we've done supplementary angles. So that's what we're going to cover. Your foldable has everything we need to cover about this. So we're doing part 1 today, and then part 2 we're going to do it on Monday. So make sure you keep this foldable, you stay with it. Put in your composition book or keep it in your binder. Make sure that you bring it back by Monday. Do not lose it. So what you do need to do is go ahead and fold your paper in 3 parts and make sure that once you fold in 3 parts that you write the title Triangles and Angle Relationships. That way we could go ahead and get started when you're done writing that down. Okay, so now that you've had your foldable, you fold it and put the title, go ahead and open it up. Now on this part, we have 3 sections. On the first sections, you have complementary angles and supplementary angles. That is going to be on your left side. So let's go to the bottom left side. And what we're going to do, we're going to fill in the blanks and then go ahead and do those word problems. So it says, a pair of angles that add up to 180 degrees. Remember, that's what the definition for supplementary angles is. So if you notice, we have one angle that's 120, then another angle that's 60. When you add them up, that becomes 120 and then 60. This is called an adjacent side. That means that they share that side. So make sure that you understand that. So it does create 2 angles, even though they're sharing that side. So when you actually add them up, that equals to 180 degrees. And if you notice also, it also creates a straight angle. So once you see a straight angle and then you see 2 angles that create that straight angle, then those are called supplementary angles. Now let's go ahead and look at the practice. So the first one, this is number 1. The first one, we have a straight angle. We see the straight angle here. And we have 37. And there we need to find out what x equals to. So remember, the whole thing equals to 180 degrees. So then that means I could just easily do 180 minus 37. So that's going to be 143. So that means x equals 143 degrees. On number 2, we're going to name this number 2, says the supplement for a 51-degree angle would be, so just imagine this is an angle, and they're telling you that one of the angles is 51 degrees, so they want to know what the other angle is. So in order to do that, you're going to go ahead and do 180 minus 51. So again, you borrow. So 10 minus 1 is 9, 7 minus 5 is 2, and then 1 minus 0 is 1. So that means that missing angle, or the complement for 51 degrees, the supplement, sorry, the supplement to a 51-degree angle would be 129 degrees. Number 3 is a different story. Now in number 3, again, we still have that angle that's creating a straight angle, which is 180. So we know that if we add 35 and 5x, it's going to equal to 180 degrees. But in this case, they're not asking you for the degrees, even though you could still find it. They're asking you what the value of x is. So what we're going to do, we're still going to find how many degrees that is. So in this case, I have 180 minus 35. So we're going to go ahead and borrow. So 10 minus 5 is 5, 7 minus 3 is 4, 1 minus 0 is 1. So that means 5x has to equal to 145. Okay, so now that we know that, then we could go ahead and find the value of x. And we do that by actually writing an equation. So we have 5x is equal to 145. In order for me to find that out, I could divide by 5. 5 divided by 5 going to give you x, and then 5 into 145. Well, let's go ahead and do the math. So 5 into 14 is 2 times. That's 10. Remainder is 4. Bring the 5 down. 5 into 45 is 9 times. That's 45 and 0. So that means that the value of x is 29 degrees. So remember, supplementary angles, when you see two angles that create a straight angle, that's going to equal to 180 degrees. And all you have to do is apply the math that we have done before. So you could subtract it and find part of it, or you could go ahead and just make them equal to each other. Because in this case, number 3, I could actually write 35 plus 5x is equal to 180. So that's another way we could do this. And then all we have to do is subtract 35 on each side. And if you notice, this is where we stayed off. And then we divide by 5. And even though you could do it that way, you could do it either way, and you still end up with 29 degrees. So make sure, whatever you feel more comfortable with, that you use either one of them, but use what you understand. So this section is on the last part of it. This is going to be all towards your right. We'll do the top left and the middle on Monday. So what we're going to do, we've been working with angles and triangles. So we're going to go ahead and do this. So we know that the sum of all interior angles of any triangle is 180 degrees. And that's something that we won't find anywhere. That's something that we just need to know, and we just need to apply it. So there are 4 problems here. If you notice, your paper looks different from mine. What I did, I went ahead and put half on the left, half on the right, but yours is going straight down. So make sure that you're doing the correct problem. So let's go ahead and start with the first one. And I forgot to number them, so let's go ahead and number them. And that way you know which one I'm talking about. So let's go ahead and look at our answer. So remember, when you have already angles that give you the amount or the value of them, then all you have to do is add them, and then to find the missing one, you subtract it from 180. So let's go ahead and do that for number 1. So you have 140 plus 22. That gives you 162. And then that, you're going to subtract it from 180. So if you look, you're going to go ahead and borrow. So that's 10 minus 2 is 8. 7 minus 6 is 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. So that means that x is equal to 18 degrees. Now it does make sense, because if you look at it, it is an acute angle, and an acute angle is anything that's between 0 and 90. So make sure you look for that reasonableness. Number 2. Number two, if you notice, they have 2x and 2x. That means these are called base angles. So whenever they're giving you a word problem without a picture, these are called base angles. Now, base angles, that means that this is an isosceles triangle. So when you have two congruent sides, then you're going to have two base angles that are congruent also. So that means they measure the same thing. Now, if you notice, you have 2x on the base angles, but then you also have an x. So they don't give you any value, so that means we have to find the value of x and then apply it to what we have there. So let's go ahead and start with that. So it's got 2x plus 2x plus x equals to 180. Okay, so now if you notice, we do have like terms. So that means I have to add 2 plus 2. And then remember, when you have an x by itself, it's 1. So 2 plus 2 is 4 plus 1 is 5. So that means this is 5x equals to 180 degrees. So in order for us to keep going, that means I'm dividing by 5. So 5 divided by 5 is 1x, which is just x. And then 180, I'm going to do it here on the side. 180 divided by 5. 5 into 18 is 3 times. That's 15. 3 bring down the 0. 5 into 30 is 6 times. So that's 30, 0. So that means the value of x is 36 degrees. Now all that means is that if I go ahead and multiply 36 times 2, that's going to give you 72. So that means the base angles are 72 degrees and the other angle is 36 degrees. So make sure that if they ask you just for the value of x, you actually show your work and find the value of x. When they're asking you for the value of the angles, then you have to substitute the x with the 36 and then multiply it. So make sure you understand the difference between those two questions. Okay, so let's go to number 3. Now, number 3, there's one thing here that gives us information without doing any math. And we know that when we have a little square like that, that means that it's a right angle. So remember, right angles measure 90 degrees. So now that we know that, we could go ahead and find out what those missing measurements are. So let's go ahead and write the equation. So that's 7x plus 3x plus 90 equals to 180 degrees. Now again, we have like terms. So that means I'm going to go ahead and write 10x plus 90 equals 180 degrees. Now we could go ahead and solve. So I'm going to subtract 90 from each side. So this becomes 10x. This cancels out because it becomes 0 pairs is equal to 90. 180 minus 90 is 90. So now all I have to do is divide by 10. So x will equal to 9. So now that we know the value of x, then we need to come here and apply it. So 7 times 9 will equals to 63 degrees. And then this is going to be 3 times 9 will give you 27 degrees. So if they ask you for this angle, then it's going to measure 63 degrees. If they ask you for that angle, it's going to measure 27 degrees. So once you find the value of x, it's easy to find the measurement of each of those angles. Okay, now the last one, same thing. We have 40. We have this little square that indicate that that's 90 degrees. Then we have 2x. So we're going to go ahead and do 90 plus 40 plus 2x is equal to 180 degrees. So we're going to go ahead and combine like terms. So 90 plus 40 is 130 plus 2x equals 180 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract 130 on each side. So this becomes 0 pairs. 130 minus 130 is 0 pairs. So we're gonna go ahead and bring down the 2x. 180 minus 130 is 50. When you divide it by 2, then x equals 225. So here the x equals 25. But if they ask us about the angle, well, then we just have to come up here and substitute it. So 2 times x is going to be 2 times 25, which equals 250. So that means this angle is 50 degrees. Okay, now that we went over all those notes, make sure you hold on to this, put it in your composition book, do not lose it, because we're gonna work on the rest of them on Monday. So this is your assignment. You have 6 problems. Do as many as you can today, but do not take it for homework. Make sure you, we're gonna go ahead and work on it on Monday, especially those of you that have not finished your test, that didn't have time to do this. So make sure you're watching this video completely, take your notes, and make sure you don't lose that note page. So go ahead and work on this assignment, and please remain quiet as the rest of them finish up their test.